Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a off the shoulder jumpsuit tutorial. It's super easy again. I try to make all of them easy. Let's get into the supplies that you're gonna need. First thing you're gonna need is some fabric scissors. Use fabric scissors and nothing else. Pinking shears are gonna help you minimize your fray, so you're gonna need some of those if you're working with denim. You're also gonna need some scissors to get rid of all those loose thread, so be sure to go ahead and grab those. Next thing you're gonna need is some pattern weights. I got mine from Home Depot and Lowe's. They're just simple washers. Next up, some thread. Make sure you get the thread and the color that you're going to be using are closely matching. Pins is a must. Always have those pins. And of course, fabric. For this, you're going to need about 4 yards of fabric. Be sure to alter that based off your size and the pattern requirements. Read your pattern to find out. Alright, so while we're on patterns, the two patterns that you're going to need are Cynthia Rowley 8124, that's a simplicity pattern. And you're also going to need Simplicity 8178. Alright, you're going to need some elastic. You're going to need 1 inch elastic as well as 1.5 inch elastic for your waist. Be sure to get non-roll elastic on that 1 inch elastic. Alright, so we're going to begin with Simplicity 8124. The pieces you'll need are piece 3, and that's your sleeve piece. You're going to need piece 6, and that is your bodice front piece. And you're going to need piece 7. That is your bodice back piece. Now let's move on to Simplicity 8178. First piece you're going to need for this one is your pocket piece, and that's going to be piece 7. Alright, now we're going to talk about this a little bit later as far as using this or not, but for now go ahead and get that piece out. Okay, you're going to need piece 5, and of course that's your pants front piece. Alright, be sure to cut out your correct sizes for all these pieces. The next piece up is piece 6, and that is your pants back piece. Don't forget to get your non-roll elastic, and let's get started. Alright, so we're going to start with Simplicity 8178. We are going to be using view A, but we're only going to be doing the pants portion of it. We're going to leave out the top portion of it, okay? So that's the reason why I specified what pieces that you're going to need for this pattern, because we're not going to be using the entire thing. Go ahead and get your instructions out, alright, and of course unfold those. What we're going to do is throw away that first page, all right, and only look at the second page. So turn to your 304 page, and what you're going to do is do everything but put the elastic in. Once you get to the portion where you put the elastic in, stop and then come back, and we'll get started on the Simplicity Cynthia Rowley piece. Okay, so go ahead, be sure to cut all those pieces out, the ones that I specified before you get started. Put your pants part together and then come back. Okay, once you get that pants part together, you want to try it on. Make sure it doesn't come up too high, because I found that mine came up too high, or higher than I wanted it to come up. So I opened it up, trimmed about 1 inch off. I did account for the 7/8 inch seam that you do have to have on your pants, and then I was satisfied with where mine was. Make sure you try yours on before you begin with your bodice piece so that you don't have problems with the fitting. Okay, so the first piece we're going to be working with is our piece 6, and that's our bodice front piece. And what we're basically wanting to do is I wanted more of a fitted look. I didn't want as much gathering in it as the pattern allows. So what we're going to do is take out some of that gathering by taking away 1 inch off of the pattern piece, and that's essentially going to take away 2 inches off of the whole front piece. Once you make that marking with the ruler or whatever you use, then you want to go ahead and fold it on the line that you created using your pen. All right, so we go ahead and lay that on the fold line and make sure that it's nice and neat, and we want to go ahead and secure those with our washers that we have. Now, like I said, I got my washers from Home Depot, or you can get yours from Lowe's, and I use them as pattern weights, but they are just simply washers that you can get from those. I think I paid maybe about 70 cents or 40 cents a piece. Not exactly sure, it's been a long time, but that's where I got them from. You also want to do the exact same thing to your piece 7. I marked it 1 inch in, which essentially is going to be 2 inches once you finish making the crease on it, and then you want to go ahead and fold it and lay it on the fold line also. Now I just turned this one over because I folded it the other way. Now basically what you want to do is just go ahead and either use your chalk or you can use your handy dandy pens. And again, this is my friction pen that I got from Staples. You can also get them from Home Depot. And you basically just want to trace all the way around your piece 6 and your piece 7 like you would normally do, and then afterwards go ahead and cut those out. If you're going to be doing denim, or if you are doing denim, be sure to use your shears, your pinking shears, because those are going to minimize the fray. Now, I have found with those pinking shears, they don't get rid of all of the fray, but most of that we are going to take advantage of, especially in our sleeve pieces. But for now, go ahead and use your fabric shear, pinking shears, goodness, your pinking shears, so that you can minimize the fray. Okie doke. Once we finish with all that cutting out, then you're just going to go ahead and take those pieces, get them together, and lay them to the side. All right, because we're going to go ahead and start working on our sleeve piece. So let's get our piece 3, and what we're going to do is take our piece 3, which is our sleeve piece, and we're going to fold it end to end like you see here. Now what we're essentially doing is just making a mark on our pattern piece, so that when we open it back up, we know essentially about where the middle of the pattern piece is. Now when I made that mark, I see where I made the mark at, and I'm basically going to take my ruler and do about a 2-inch line going all the way across. Now I'm going to show you how I basically do that here. From where I have the line at, I'm basically going to find where my 2-inch mark is, and halfway of that would be 1 inch. All right, and so what we're going to do is sit that 1-inch line on the line that we created when we made our fold, and then just go ahead and make a 2-inch line. Once you get done making that 2-inch line, then you want to take the corner or the end of the line and basically fold it to meet the other end. So you're going to fold it in half, and that's going to take away the 2 inches that you want to take away out of your sleeve. Now again, the reason for doing that is so that we take a little bit of the gathering out, because we want more of a smoother look on the sleeves as well as on the arm. Then you're going to take your tape and just tape that down so that it doesn't come apart when you're cutting out your pattern pieces. Once you have taped everything down, then you want to go ahead and do exactly like you did on your other pattern pieces. Use your pattern weights and go ahead and put your pattern piece, secure your pattern piece down so it doesn't move, and then just trace going around that pattern piece and cut as normal. One reason why I like to use my pens, the pens that I've told you about so many times during my tutorials, is that it just helps with making sure that I get a nice close trace on it. So a lot of times when you're cutting, your fabric will move around, your patterns will move around, and then you'll get uneven cuts. So I like to go ahead and trace around. It does take a little bit more time, but believe me, it's worth it, because your pattern pieces look a whole lot better and they fit together a whole lot better. So I take the extra time and use my pens to go ahead and cut around it. I'm sorry, to go ahead and trace around it, and then I just go ahead and cut. So if you are not using denim, then you want to omit this piece, because this is specifically if you have denim that you can fray. And this is just to add a little flair to the sleeve. What you want to do is take your sleeve pattern piece, which is your number 3, start from the bottom of that pattern piece and lay your ruler like you see me doing here. and I went up 4 inches, which is about the width that I want to go up on it, and then I marked that on my pattern piece. Then what you want to do is from that pattern piece, on that pattern piece, trace going around, going all the way up to the marking that you just made, and then the bottom portion of the sleeve you want to trace as well as the other side. Once you finish tracing up on both sides, you want to go ahead and remove your washers and then remove your pattern piece. Now you want to take your yardstick and you basically want to connect those 2 lines like you see me doing here. That's going to make the bottom portion that you're going to use to put the elastic in, and so that it holds on your fabric. That's also going to create the ruffling effect that you saw when on my sleeve on the pictures before we started the tutorial. Once you get everything drawn out, if you haven't, go back and just reinforce your lines so you have clear cutting lines and there's no problem. And then you just want to go ahead and cut both of those pattern pieces out. Now you are going to have 2 pattern pieces, of course, because you have 2 sleeves. So go ahead and cut those out once you've traced those pieces. Once we get those pieces cut out, we're going to treat those just like we would do our sleeve pieces and go ahead and put right sides together, stitch the 5/8 inch stitch on both of those pieces. You do want to sit those pieces to the side and go ahead and construct the rest of your bodice. Once you get that bodice constructed, go ahead and come back and then we'll show you how to attach those pieces. Now I have finished up on my bodice, so now we're going to attach our piece. Now if you see here, I have folded one end 1/4 down on the wrong side. So now what you want to do is turn your piece to the right side, and we're going to slide it over the sleeve of our actual bodice piece. Now if you notice, the bodice piece is on the wrong side, so I'm basically just going to slide it over and match up those seams. Alright, so we're going to match up those seams like you see here. I'm iron pressed both of mine, the bodice down as well as the sleeve, extra sleeve piece that we made. And we're just going to match up both of those sleeves on the bottom and then pin. And make sure your raw edges are together on the bodice sleeve as well as the sleeve extra piece. Then you want to go up to the top and line up the seam on that piece and go ahead and pin that down. What that does is just make sure everything's in line so that when you are stitching, they don't come off or you don't have your hems out of whack. So after you finish that, then just go ahead around the hem and pin the rest of the hem, making sure that raw edges are together. Alright, so once you finish doing the bottom, then just go ahead and do the top the exact same way, making sure that everything is lined up, that you don't have any puckering or anything like that. And you're just going to put your pins going all the way around the top portion, which is the folded edge of that extra piece we created. Once you get both the top and the bottom pinned good, then what you want to do is take it to your sewing machine, and very close to the folded edge, which is the top portion, you want to stitch going all the way around close to that folded edge. Okay, we're back from the sewing machine, and what I want to show you is what mine looked like. I did sew very close to the folded edge like I asked you guys to do, and so this is how it should look. So to make the casing that we're going to need for our elastic, what we want to do is go down about 1 inch from the folded edge that we made and make another marking. Now I'm using my seam right. You can use a ruler or whatever's going to be the easiest for you, but you want to make that marking all the way around on that sleeve, right under where you did the fold line, about 1.5 inch. I do this just so I have no confusion when I take it to the sewing machine, so we can get that a good clean stitch going all the way around. So go ahead, take your time and do that, and flip it over to the other side and do the exact same thing. You want to do this on both sleeves. Once you have marked out your pieces, then you want to go ahead and take it to the sewing machine and stitch going all the way around the arm. Take your time, follow your markings, and be sure to leave a gap so that you can insert your elastic, okay? Make sure that you leave that gap, and then just go ahead and stitch going all the way around. Alright guys, now I want to show this part just to basically show you how to do. Most of y'all probably already know how to put in your elastic, but I kind of use my mom's old technique with putting in, using a pin and feeding it through. So basically that's what you want to do. Once you've created the casing that I instructed you how to do on the last step, you want to go ahead and put a pin in your elastic once you've measured around your arm, or where you basically want the sleeve to fall, and then go ahead and just feed that elastic going all the way through using the casing that you just created. The next step that we're going to work on is going ahead and securing our elastic on both of our sleeves. Now I have pinned it through using the pin that I showed you. I have fed it through the casing that I created. Now you want to take it to the sewing machine and basically lay your elastic pieces on top of each other and do a zigzag stitch. Alright, you want to do that on both of your sleeves, and when you finish and come back, this is how it's going to look. You can see at the end, I used the denim to fray the end just to give it a different touch and to put a different spin on it. So that's how your other sleeve is going to be once you come back from the sewing machine. Go ahead and get that done. Now, before we get started on the next part, I want to outline a couple of things that I did for my pants piece. I did go ahead once I had constructed both pieces, and I tried on my top or my bodice as well as my bottom portion. I did notice once I tried on my bottom portion that it did go a little higher than I wanted it to. So like I said before, what I basically did was I omitted the pockets because I wasn't really keen on how those fit either. You can choose to leave yours in if you wanted to. I do plan on making another version that I didn't want to fit quite as close as this version, and I'm going to insert the pockets. But I did omit my pockets, even though you see them here, as well as cutting about 1 inch off on my pants before I even got started. So be sure before you connect your bodice to your pants piece that you do try both pieces on before you connect them and make sure that they fit the way you want to. All right, if you notice that you need to omit some of the bottom portion of your bodice, then do that. And if you need to take some off of your pants, be sure to go ahead and do that also. All right, make sure you make all the alterations before you move on. So the next step that we have to do is attach our bodice to our pants and put in our elastic. All right, so you can see here that what I've done is lined up my bodice with my pants, and I'm going to grade according to make it fit to my pants. And the reason I'm doing that is because basically with my pants, I cut a smaller size, and with because I wanted it to fit a little bit more, and with my shirt, I did a little bit larger size because I wanted a little bulkiness up top. Now you may not prefer this. If you did not do that, then your pants and your shirt you may not have to grade. But if you need to grade it, then this is just an example of how I graded mine. Now if you graded your bodice, then you want to go ahead and trim off all that extra fabric, and then go ahead and turn your bodice inside out and draw or mark a 7/8 inch seam on your pants. Now again, you may have a 7/8 inch seam on your sewing machine. I do not, so I like to mark it so I get an accurate cut or an accurate sew when I put my pieces together. Now the reason for doing the 7/8 inch seam is so that you can make sure that your elastic fits in. All right, so that's what we're going to do. Now to connect our two pieces, like I said, turn your bodice piece wrong side out, and then what you basically want to do is go ahead and insert it into your pants. Now the first thing that you want to do is line up your side seams, and that's pretty much self-explanatory. Just make sure you have your your side seams laid out, and go ahead and pin that. I want you to turn it around and do the exact same thing on the other side. Line up those seams, pin them, and make sure that those are secure. Alright, so once we have both the side seams pinned together, then we want to go ahead and line up our center front and our center back. Now, I went ahead and cut my center front and center back out well ahead of time. So what I want to do is just take those notches and line them up with the seam on my center front pants, and the same thing goes for the back. Okay, now it's time to take it to the sewing machine and do that 7/8 inch stitch going all the way around for your elastic. I will meet you back here in a minute. Go ahead and follow the markings that you made and make sure that you take your time once you take it to the sewing machine. Okay, so we're back from the sewing machine, and this is how my piece looks. I have sewn it down. I have done 7/8 inch going all the way across. I have went ahead and made sure that everything fit me the way I wanted to. Now basically what you want to do is go ahead and trim the bodice portion of your seam allowance out so that you have no trouble getting that elastic in. Okay, so take your time, pull back your actual pants part, and make sure that you make sure you cut as close as you can to get that bodice extra seam away. Do that on both sides. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do once we trim away that seam allowance is we want to take it to the ironing board, and you just want to press your pants portion of the seam going towards the bodice. Okay, and then you want to take it to the sewing machine and just do a stitch very close to the edge of that seam. What it's going to do is make the casing for your elastic as you see here. Okay, and you want to make sure that of course you leave a little bit so that you can insert your actual elastic all the way around. All right, here's a quick look at what my elastic looked like when I got done. We are done. All you need to do is go ahead and hem your pants. If you have not, be sure to put on the pants or the shoes that you're going to be wearing with your jumpsuit so that you get a nice good hem and it's not too high up. What I did, since I used denim, was go ahead and continue the fray from my sleeves down to the bottom hem of my pants, and I just went ahead and hemmed my pants. You can see that look above. All right, but if you don't want to go ahead and do that, then please go ahead and hem it, but put on the shoes that you plan on wearing before you hem it. Again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to tag me on Instagram if you have any creations that you've done. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, thanks for coming.